Today is a celebration of an invitation. Jesus said, "Suffer the little ones to come unto me and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." And today I'd just like to celebrate that invite, celebration of an invitation. We come to him as little children, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And we've got the kids doing their show today. Before we let them at us, let's stand and welcome each other.
Good morning. Would you please join me in the call to worship? God risks everything to help people who wander away. We come to worship God, who calls to us when we are lost. We come to worship God, who rejoices when we are found. God celebrates the small details of our lives that we call special. Please join together in the hymn of celebration, number 344, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands.
I think this is a prayer. We put this together. Joanne put this together all around this Mad Camp musical encounter with the parables. So let's try to read this together and focus it in as our prayer. So let's pray together. The Messiah. Look for the Messiah where you will, but you'll find him where you live. He will not be separated and kept apart from those who cry to him. He will be found right in the midst of the daily, routine, ordinary stuff of life. So wherever you're living, look for him. In the ordinary niches of that living, look for the holy, that the holy might be found in you. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Friends, believe the good news of the gospel.
In Jesus Christ, we are
God, we thank you for the promise that you are in our midst. We can come to you with all the joys and concerns that fill our days and our lives and our sleepless nights, our worries and our celebrations. For anniversaries, we thank you, and the people who make up our lives, the friends we count on, and the kids we love, parents and grandparents. We thank you for our families and pray your blessing, that your peace and your love, your joy would rule our homes, that they'd be an oasis in the desert, an oasis of encouragement and refreshment where we might grow together. We pray again for our nation and pray that we might be that kind of encouragement for nations around the world and for us as the people of America. We pray for last night's jury decision and the disappointment that many feel in our justice system, and pray that these issues will be resolved in ways that are fair and just for all. We ask you to guide the future of our nation as we ask you to guide the future of our lives, our neighborhoods, our friends, and our family. We commit it all to you, trusting that you know us and you love us, you care, and you taught us to pray, saying together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. So now let's offer to God with joy our tithes and our gifts in support of his work in our lives.
Would you please pray with me? Great God in heaven, you remind us to focus our ability on first loving you. Then you urge us to reflect that love towards our neighbor. We desire to be the modern-day Good Samaritan. Create anew in our hearts a burning desire to care for your children. Encourage us to follow the caring ways that Jesus taught. Multiply these tithes and offerings so acts of tolerance and hospitality are extended through our ministry to all of your children. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Our readings today come from the book of Luke. I'll be reading chapters 1 through 10, 11 through 13, and then 17 through 24. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep." I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had and set off for a distant country, and there he squandered his wealth in wild living. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate." This is the word of the Lord.
And so we decided that what we would do would be to try to give you bits and pieces of the performance so that you could see what we had done and what we thought were pretty clever little tricks that we had up our sleeves. If you'll take a look at our scenery, you'll see an interesting way in which the scenery changes and becomes someplace new. Of course, we ask always for your imagination. The story starts out with a young child whose name is Morris, or Maurice. The girl version became Maurice. And she's a new kid at school. He's a new kid at school. And he's lost. And he runs into some folks who help him become acquainted with some parables from the Bible Jesus' parables about the lost and the found. And they become more familiar to us as we become grown up. But Morris is completely, it's just really just not in his realm of understanding. And so he gets taken into the land of Bible times. He steps into the Word, and it's a shame we don't have all the kids to do that scene for you of them stepping into the Word. But you are going to hear them sing part of the new kid, who is the new kid at school, and then we will do one parable, the parable of the lost coin. And from the parable of the lost coin, we will switch to the ending of the play, in which, Morris has begun to put 2 and 2 together and comes up with 4 and discovers that each and every one of us are like the lost items in Jesus' parable, and that he can come to Jesus and know that he is found. And so, without further ado, let us begin.
Make way for the Pharisees. Think, grumble, grumble, judge, humph. Stranger, grumble, grumble, judge, humph. Who are they, and what's with the grumble, grumble, judge, humph?
The Pharisees spend lots of time thinking and studying about God's laws.
Think,
They're very grumbly.
grumble, grumble, judge. Sorry.
The Pharisees heard Jesus preach, but their hearts weren't open. They got grumpy because Jesus ate dinner with tax collectors.
Dinner with sinners, for shame. Humph! They're not very nice.
That must be because they're not fair. I see. Get it? Fair, I see?
This is no time for joking. I need some help here.
Maybe we can find someone who might help you find your way. Maurice, listen, it's the compass. It seems to be pointing this way.
Excuse me, I wonder if you can help me. I seem to have lost a coin.
You lost a coin? Maurice, this is like the story that Jesus was telling. Maybe we can help her find the coin.
Okay, I'll play along. Ma'am, could you describe the coin?
Is it a special coin?
There are other coins like it, but this one is a treasure to me.
Hey, I know. I've got a coin right here in my pocket. You can have this one.
Thank you, but I don't think you understand. I'm looking for the coin that was lost. Nothing can replace it, and I won't stop until I find it.
Light the lamps, sweep the rooms, beat the rugs, dust the rooms. We will work and never count the cost. We will find the treasure that is lost. Searching high, searching low, searching all around. We'll never stop looking until that coin is found. Never stop looking until that coin is found.
It's an ordinary coin to everyone but me. Treasure of my heart, as precious as can be. Every lost thing is hoping to be found.
That's why we're searching all around. So we'll light the lamps, sweep the rooms, beat the rugs, dust the rooms. We will work and never count the cost. We will find the treasure that is lost. Searching high, searching low, searching all around. Never stop looking until that coin is found. Never stop looking until that coin is found.
One day we will look, and there that coin will be, gleaming in the light for everyone to see. We'll hold it in our hand, shout with our loudest voice.
Friends come together and rejoice. So we'll light the lamps, sweep the rooms, beat the rugs, dust the rooms. We will work and never count the cost. We will find the treasure that is lost. Searching high, searching low, searching all around. Never stop looking until that coin is found. Never stop looking until that coin is found.
I think I see something.
It's my coin.
We never gave up, kept searching all around. We never lost hope, and now that coin is The stories in the Bible have everything to do with us.
Maurice, what do you mean?
If these stories are parables, Jesus was using them to tell us something about God. We are the lost things in the stories.
Oh, I knew that. Jesus was using these stories to tell how much God loved us.
Caleb, how did you find your way to Jesus?
Well, that was easy. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me." So I did.
That is easy. Thank you, Caleb. God, we move around all the time because of my dad's job. This is my 3rd time in a new school. But you know that, right? I was feeling scared and lost, but now I know you have been searching for me and you treasure me. I don't need to feel lost because of my confidence, and my real home has always been with you. Of the Bible, taught to me in childhood, these stories are written in my heart. Now that I am older, these stories of the Bible have a deeper meaning to impart. Suddenly I see these stories have new meaning for me. I am the coin, I am the sheep, I am the prodigal who wandered my own way.
hope that you can enjoy this little taste of our 2 weeks. We believe that your children have found Jesus in the parables. They have found friendships. They have grown tremendously from the first day that they arrived until now. And we thank you. We thank the session, the deacons of this church for their unending support, as well as members of the congregation. And simply, I would like to ask my thanks also to Donna Wojcik, who does all the music all the time, to Will, to Max. Even Chuck was there Friday night on the guitar. I'd like to thank Jorge Carreras, who got left out of it Friday night, as well as Cindy Dennison, and will everybody else please stand up who was part of this. And we had wonderful food, wonderful. Our kitchen help was remarkable. Thank you all so very much for this continued support of the arts in religion.
I don't know, Joanne. I think you're getting a little carried away with the children's sermon. It's like, well, I had no idea what to expect, but that was fun. So I had kind of a long sermon in mind and then a short one, and we're in luck. I've got time for the long one. And I'll throw the short one in. I'll tell you what let's do. Let's start with, suffer the little ones to come unto me and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And let's pray together. Now, God, we invite you to speak to us through your word, through your Spirit, to our hearts and our homes. Speak, Lord, for your servants are listening. Amen. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Boston with my son, and we were getting together for Father's Day weekend. I turned 60 a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to make a whole summer of celebration of all these dramatic milestones. So to start the 60th birthday, I met my son Charlie in Boston, and we went to see the Rolling Stones in concert, just to do something odd for 60. So, we're in Boston, and we're waiting for a taxi cab to come to the hotel. It's Father's Day Sunday, and Charlie says to me, he knows I'm a storyteller. He says, Dad, what's your favorite Father's Day story? I said, my Boswell story. He says, all right, what's your Boswell story? You don't remember my Boswell story? It's my all-time favorite Father's Day story. So let's risk being a little literary, since we at least have the wife of a Pulitzer Prize-winning author here with us today, and go back to Samuel Johnson, one of the great man of letters in the English history. Johnson had a newspaper in the days when that was like a blog, and he just opined about everything that was happening in English letters and culture, jurisprudence, and anything that happened to catch his interest. And he published that regularly. And then he also did a lot of other things. He actually compiled the first dictionary of the English language, Samuel Johnson. And he was a big figure in his time. Not so huge today, maybe, but really, really well-known and interesting, and a leader in his age. So James Boswell decided to write the life of Samuel Johnson. He was in his circle of friends, and he accompanied Johnson a lot. He knew him well. He'd interviewed him many times. And he set out to write the life of Johnson, which became, in its own right, a great literary classic. I mean, this is the essential biography. If you're ever going to write a biography, start by reading Boswell's Life of Johnson. It's the greatest biography written in the English language still to this day. There have been some great biographies of Lincoln and some other leading figures, but this thing is the definitive biography. And that led James Boswell to a pretty famous life in Victorian England, too. So now Boswell becomes this big leading voice in English letters. And some folks ask him often, where did he find the inspiration, the ideas, the perseverance to push through and become the kind of literary voice that he had become. And he always went back to this one day. And these were the days in Victorian England when everybody kept a journal, So they could actually trace it back. And he had this one day. He spent all day fishing with his father. And over the course of that day, the conversations they had just absolutely shaped the fire in this young man's soul. He came out of that day convinced that he could do it. That's somehow, the great Plutarch phrase, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be ignited. And somehow Boswell's dad had just absolutely ignited that fire that day. So everybody kept journals. Eventually it occurred to somebody to go back into Boswell's father's journal and see what Dad had to say about that fabulous day that had so turned on the engines of life and talent and potential in his son, James Boswell, the great biographer. So what does Boswell's dad have to say about this amazing day that changed the life and set the direction for his son? They read the entry. Here's exactly what it says. Spent all day fishing with my son. A day wasted. It's such I don't know where I caught that story, but it's just captured me for years about the importance of wasting a day. And this time when we're also driven, where it's also, scheduled and tight. Sometimes you just need to waste a day. The days I wasted with my dad now mean a lot more to me than those scheduled packed meetings and plannings and everything. It's not just, I guess what stands out is not just that he was so dialed out, that he was so absorbed with his own schedule and his own accomplishments and everything he had to do, that he felt nervous and anxious and bored sitting there fishing with his son. The kid's old enough where he can bait his own hook. It wasn't like a little guy. It was a guy that's talking about, dreams and life and potential. And he missed the whole influence he was having, which is kind of intriguing and interesting. But he did it anyway. Even if it wasn't going to be real convenient for him, even if it wasn't going to be the priority, life-changing day in the life of his son, here was a father who took a day out of a busy schedule just to waste a day with his son, just to throw it away, because you ought to do that. And he knew enough to know you ought to do that. He didn't have any particular agenda on that day. So when we talk about wasted day with the kids, with the grandkids, I'm talking about no special agenda where we're going to make sure that we get these things down. If you had read in Boswell's father's journal the day before the big day, and we had found, tomorrow I'm going fishing with my son. He seems a little confused about his life goals. So I plan to have an important, life-changing talk with him about his priorities. He seems to think he wants to be an artist and a writer, and there's certainly no money in that. So we'll have a good, serious life talk about priorities tomorrow. If Boswell's dad's journal had said that, Boswell's journal would have read, spent all day fishing with my father, a day wasted. You can't plan this stuff. You just can't plan when that moment's going to happen, and when the heart is open and the time is right. You can't always plan that stuff. But if you're not too busy, you can just fall into it. You waste a day. You take a day out of the schedule and say, all I'm going to do tomorrow is spend it with the kids. Who knows what we're going to do, where we're going to go, what we're going to talk about, and just waste the day. No particular agenda to that. My dad's father was very distant and aloof. He learned next to nothing from his dad about life and goals, but the next door neighbor, he had like 5, 6 boys, and they were always taking apart engines and fixing cars and doing all sorts of stuff. And my dad went next door all the time and learned all kinds of stuff from Denny Redden, the next door neighbor, who just welcomed him in. So it's not even just my son. It's, the kids that God puts in your orbit. It's neighbors, it's grandchildren. It's the people that we have a chance to influence. Maybe it's a classroom full of students. Maybe it's a Sunday school class. Waste a day. Put a day in with the kids. My grandson was down. Again, this is my big birthday summer. So I go up to Boston with Charlie for Father's Day. And about 10 days later, it's the actual birthday. My birthday was June 27th. And my daughter and son-in-law and little baby come down. Now, little Dennison is about 2. He's almost 2. And he's in the cutest kid, the cutest phase. He's always walking around like, what's that? What's that? And he's working on words, big time on words. Trying to get, he doesn't have a whole lot of words yet, but he's got bye-bye and daddy and mommy and what's that? And then, he'll, what's that? That's a guitar. He loves the guitar. He stands there and strums it and stuff. I had to give him one while he was here. What's that? Guitar, What's that? That's a bass. What's that? What's that? That's the music stand. What's that? That's Buddy Guy. One of my autographs. So now it's goodbye. And we're out in the yard, next door neighbor's yard, Dennison and me. And this plane comes in real low into the field. So he's like buzzing us, pretty low. And the little Dennison's like, whoa, what's that? I said, that's an airplane. And then he goes like, bye-bye, airplane. And it's just like, this is too cute, This is just so, that's my favorite memory of the whole visit. There's a little bye-bye, airplane. It doesn't happen unless you're wasting the time to be there, to make those memories. You can't schedule it. You can't notch it into quality time together. That's a nice idea, but I've had the friends' kids say, Dad, I didn't need quality time. I wanted quantity time, I didn't need a half hour of shooting baskets. I needed a wasted day. So that's what we get to do with these little ones. We get to share our lives with them, and it comes back and blesses us in so many ways, memories like that, memories that we all have that we'll cherish and keep forever, even as these kids grow. And that's the last thing I'd like to talk about for just a second. We get a lot of stuff about the faith of a child, and I think a lot of it is really schmaltzy and just about flat out wrong. Most of the stuff on the faith of a child that we get from, from cards to sermons seem to be like simple, childlike faith. And that's not what I'm looking for at all. I may have begun with a simple childlike faith, but I felt it a duty, to work on that, to find Christianity to be intellectually challenging and rigorous as a worldview, as a philosophy. It's just as demanding as any other philosophy and just as interesting and just as challenging. G.K. Chesterton, what was it? It says, Christianity has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried. And that's not the faith, the simple faith, of a child. It's like, this is thoughtful, courageous, bold stuff that Christ calls us to. Now, the schmaltzy, sentimental, just like a Labrador. And not for me. So, you can look at, well, let me put it this way. Where are you going to be, Amelia, in 10 years? Do you have any idea? Caroline, where are you going to be in 10 years? Amelia? Where's your 10-year plan? Yeah, okay, college. That's pretty much probably about right. You're not going to be the same size you are now. You're not going to be thinking the same way you're thinking now. I have friends, I'm telling you, I have some friends I went to seminary with like 35, 40 years ago, and they're still right there. What's your faith like, Frank? Well, it's exactly like it was when I got out of seminary. I'm thinking, that's really too bad. I mean, you missed something pretty big. Don't you feel an obligation? Here's the thing. Children, faith of a child. The one thing I can tell you for sure about Caroline, about Amelia, about every one of these little guys and girls here today, about all of our little kids, the one thing they are going to do for certain is they're going to grow. Inevitably, they're going to grow. And so, that's the one thing we can say for sure about every kid that came to Jesus when he said, "Suffer the little ones to come and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." The one thing every one of those kids that clung to his knees was going to do was grow. I think that's got a lot to do with the faith of a child. The faith of a child is growing. We're learning from experience, from people, from the books we read, from the stuff we live, from the thoughts we have, from the dreams we wake up with. We're learning and growing. And I think one of the saddest things you can get is these stunted Christians that are still like right where they were when they got born again, Like my experience with Jesus is just, you have to have the same one too. And, that kind of a narrow-minded, experience-based, simplistic faith is not that ideal faith of a child that we're called to. The faith of the child that we're called to is to grow and to change and to be and become. I'll tell you, over the years of my Christianity, for example, I've registered as an independent, a Democrat, a Republican, and a Libertarian. and back and forth all the time. Growing, changing, thinking, becoming, and how I think about life, politics, faith, Christianity, church, discipleship. Boy, it would just be a really sad thing if I was still where I was 40 years ago when I got out of seminary and had all the answers right there in a little book. No, the faith of a child is grow. Grow and become all you are in God's plan. And the only way to do it is to grow. I spent all day fishing with my son. A day wasted. Amen. Let's stand to sing.
Things above, of
And as you go from here, you go nowhere alone. The Spirit of the Lord lives within you. The Spirit of the Lord goes before you. The Spirit of God surrounds you so that every coincidence, every meeting, every conversation, every person, every place is part of a plan. God has a plan for your life. Go in that confidence. Go in that hope. Go in that promise. And go in the blessing of God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit now and always. Amen.